And perhaps no team, granted, in a couple of games, more impressive out of the jump than has been the Brooklyn Nets. They have amassed two big victories, one over the Warriors on opening night, and most recently against the Celtics on Christmas Day. They became the first team since the 2008-09 Lakers to win their first two games by 20 or more points. The Lakers went on to win the championship that year. Andrew Posadas, I will go to you first. I should give you some credit on Pick and Pod this week. You can find the full episode with you and Kelly Bright on WFUVsports.org. I really enjoyed listening to it. But you said that the Brooklyn Nets were going to be the best team in the East. And as of right now, granted, it's early in the season and we have to keep emphasizing that. But if this team is fully operational or close to it, Andrew, they certainly look like they're going to make your prediction come true.
Yeah, Jimmy, you and I were texting back and forth during the game, and I think we both came to the same conclusion that if this team stays healthy, they should run through the East. And I mean, the offensive firepower is there. Obviously, KD, Kyrie, Karis LeVert, who everyone on Twitter is now calling Manu LeVert. And I think everyone is penciling him in for that Sixth Man of the Year award. That offense, we know what they can do. They're potent, and they can go off for 120 points whenever they want. But I think really it's defensively, Jimmy. You see all that length that they have. KD, a lanky defender. Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan. They can come off with Taurean Prince. Joe Harris has proven to be a solid defender in this league. So is Karis LeVert. I think the defense is only going to get better. And when you think about it, Nick, this is a team. We haven't seen KD and Kyrie on the court yet. A lot of people were wondering, should they make that trade for James Harden, give away this depth, and bring in that third superstar? But so far, it looks like Steve Nash has everything he needs in order to win a championship. I think all it needs is just some more time, more cohesion. But the Brooklyn Nets right now have to be the team to beat in the East when you look at all the firepower they have from positions 1 to 5.
I'm with you 100% with the way that they have played to open the season. And I know you don't want to overreact to just two games. They played two games, so you don't want to get into, oh my gosh, they're going to win the NBA Finals based upon what I've seen in the first two games. But at the same time, you really love what you see, what they've displayed and put on tape so far. And to me, the biggest thing is the defense that they've played, in addition to the health, right? Two things. It's the health and the defense. First and foremost, Kevin Durant looks like the dude that we last saw in Golden State, and that's important, right? He drops 29 points on Christmas Day. He was outstanding, and then in tandem with Kyrie Irving, who is also looking very healthy at 37 points against Boston. So these two are getting it done on the offensive side of the floor, but also with the firepower that they have. Everybody knows they're going to be able to score, and as you termed it, they can drop 120 points if they feel like it walking off the bus. That to me is what the Brooklyn Nets are. But if they can play good defense too, if they can show the attention to detail, the communication, and everything that goes into playing good defense, especially this early on, you're confident that they'll be able to sustain this. And that to me is the biggest message. Because if they're going in and they're playing good defense, we knew this team was going to come in and going to be able to score with the number of weapons that they have offensively. On defense, if they can get stops, which they have through the first two games, they're going to be in really good shape.
And the scary thing is, I think about their defense that, yes, they've played well. I think they could even play better. And Steve Nash was talking about that in the postgame yesterday. He said, look, I mean, they haven't had a lot of time together. And there's been, some smaller mistakes within the game, which is to be expected when you just have not had, Kevin Durant on the floor, and Kyrie Irving only played 20 games last season, and that was to be expected. But, you and I, Andrew, as you were referencing, we're going back and forth yesterday, and they've got three guys, the Nets do. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Karis LeVert, who could just take over the game on command, right? You look at the Christmas Day game that the Nets have, right? They, had an okay first half, kind of sputtered to halftime. It was a close game. They come out in the third quarter, and Kevin Durant is getting whatever he wants, right? They cannot stop him. He's putting up mid-range jumpers. It's impossible to defend somebody like that at 7 feet who is still so mobile after the injury. I mean, he looks like he's probably like 99% of what he was when he was in Golden State. So then the Celtics say, all right, we're going to get the ball out of his hands. And then they go to Kyrie Irving for the finishing punch, and he finishes with 37 points. It's so hard to defend because they're putting out different lineup combinations. They put LeVert out there with KD and Kyrie yesterday, as opposed to the first game where he was more kind of running the second unit. And that seemed to work as well. Like Steve Nash is still figuring out what works and what doesn't with this team right now. And I think that's the frightening thing, is that it's early in the season, and again, granted, 2 games. So we're going to see a lot more of this team, and we'll have a better sense of maybe where they can be beaten in the playoffs, if that's possible. But they're still figuring it out here. And here they are destroying the Warriors on opening night. I mean, the Warriors, I think, are not very good. So you don't take that one as seriously. But, I mean, the Celtics are a really good team. And the Nets in the second half ran away with that game. And I think that's really impressive on their part, Andrew.
Yeah, and I would say this about Steve Nash. He's really been put, I think, into the best situation I think a rookie head coach has ever had. I think about, Pat Riley getting the job with the Lakers and inheriting, Magic and Kareem, Phil Jackson getting, Michael and up-and-coming Scottie Pippen. You could say Popovich going in with getting Tim Duncan. And then obviously Steve Kerr inheriting what was there that Mark Jackson was able to build it in Golden State. But I think the credit has to go to 2 guys, and that's Jacque Vaughn and Mike D'Antoni. They're really playing the offensive and defensive coordinators, if you would, to take an NFL term, for the Brooklyn Nets. And I think that's working. Just letting Mike D'Antoni fixate on the offense, just letting Jacque Vaughn fixate on the defense. I think that's proving wonders. And for Steve Nash, he can kind of take a step back and really learn from them and kind of come along as a rookie head coach. And again, for the Nets, when you compare them to the rest of the East, I obviously the Bucks, if they would have gotten Bogdanovich, I might have taken the Bucks over the Nets. But are you going to take Giannis and Drew Holiday over a healthy KD and Kyrie? No. The Raptors, the Heat, while they have great teams and they have depth, are you going to take that depth over the Brooklyn Nets depth if they stay healthy? No. And, you can even go with the Sixers with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. You're not taking that duo over a healthy KD and Kyrie. And again, I think health is going to be it. But Nick, at the end of the day, I think the main question is, if the Brooklyn Nets are going to play like this, are they good enough to dethrone LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers?
Question that everybody wants to know. And I think if they play like this, they certainly are capable of it, and it's possible. Now, I don't know that I'd go in and pick it because of LeBron's track record and the resume, and Anthony Davis has been outstanding since he's been in Los Angeles, and they have added to their already pretty darn good roster as well into this season. And you also feel like with the craziness and everything that's going on, the continuity of the Lakers now having played together in this sort of format for at least 2 years. This is LeBron's 3rd year, but this roster looks a lot different from the year 1. So you're trying to figure all that stuff out, whereas the Nets, although most of them have played together for a number of years now, the additions of Kyrie and KD playing together and how all that fits, especially with Steve Nash as your head coach and D'Antoni and Vaughn and running everything that they all want to run. So it would be interesting. Hard to say right now, 2 games in, but they're certainly capable. I think that's what they proved, right? You had to come in and prove that you were healthy. They have done that. Proved that they can certainly on offense was what we expected, and they have done that. They are what as advertised on the offensive side of the floor. And then defensively, they have checked that box as well in playing really good defense early on. And I agree with what Steve Nash said and what you guys have said as well. They can get better. They can improve on that side of the floor as well. So they are certainly in that conversation. They are in that realm. Whether or not they're winning, it's 2 games in. So let's not get carried away here. But they're capable of doing it. They have proven they are capable of doing it. And I think that's as good as it gets for the Nets 2 games in.
Before we move on to the Knicks, just want to put it out there. Kyrie Irving has played 147 games in the past 3 years. Kevin Durant is coming back off an Achilles. Karis LeVert was hurt at various points last year. Yes, you had Spencer Dinwiddie on the team last season putting up massive numbers by necessity. If the Nets were to fall short of expectation this year, I think that's probably the likeliest reason. And yeah, I picked Milwaukee out of the East, but after seeing what we've seen from the Nets, I'm trying very hard not to overreact, but this is fun to watch.